Today I'm having coffee with Damien Crutcher. He's the managing director of Detroit Harmony, which is a music education program of the Detroit Symphony Orchestra. He's also a conductor of the Civic Concert Band and the Detroit Community Concert Band. He's the CEO of Crescendo Detroit, another nonprofit music organization, and he's
As founder of Crescendo Detroit, Damien's career as a music teacher and conductor gave him the skills needed to enrich the lives of students in Detroit, especially since so many performing arts programs have been eliminated from the schools.
So coming home with an instrument the first day like we did at elementary school, these kids, they don't have that. And so we're doing that for them. That we've made a difference in the kids' life and that we've made them be able to imagine life outside of their block.
With a little music and a little dance, Damien Crutcher and Crescendo Detroit are hitting all the right notes right here in the heart of Detroit.
He's the CEO of Crescendo Detroit, another nonprofit music organization, and he's on faculty of Wayne State University. I don't know how he does it all, but I'm going to have coffee with him and find out. Good morning, Damien.
Good morning, Silas. How are you?
I'm well. It's nice to see you, and it's nice to meet you, finally.
You too. Right, you too.
I've got my favorite morning beverage, which is an espresso. And what do you got over there?
I've got, I have tea in two of my cups. My Crescendo Detroit cup and my Detroit Symphony Orchestra cup.
Yeah, I can see the DSO. What's the one in your other hand?
Crescendo Detroit.
Crescendo Detroit. Great. Well, I'm glad you have those cups because I want to ask you about both those programs you're involved in. So just before we started officially, we were talking about Detroit. I mentioned I've never been there, but you must know everything about Detroit.
You know what? I know quite a bit, not everything, but quite a bit. I was born here in Detroit. I was educated in Detroit public schools. I only left twice to go to school, in Ann Arbor and in East Lansing, and I'm back here in Detroit now. So I'm a Detroit boy for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
I've been all over the place. I've talked about it in some of my other shows my dad was in the military, so when I was a kid, my family moved around a little bit, and that got it in me that when you're an adult, you're supposed to move around. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, I've moved around, and I've just never made it to that part of the country. I've never been in Michigan. I've never been in Detroit, and I've never been to Cleveland, and that whole, part of America is just kind of a mystery to me. I'm just now getting into the Midwest because I just moved to Kansas last year.
Oh, gotcha. Right. That's great. Yeah, you have to come for like 5 days or a week and we'll do a mini tour. Like we'll do some stuff in Detroit. It's a cool town. We've got good history here. Motown.
Yeah.
When you think about it, Motown was started here. The DSO is here. We've got some of the greatest jazz legends. We started techno music here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, techno music and house music was created in Detroit.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And we have some of the greatest gospel artists in the country. So yeah, we could, and then we'll go to Ann Arbor and check out the School of Music. And then we'll go to East Lansing and go there and see what Kevin Senatol and his crew is doing at Michigan State. Yeah, we'll we'll eat some good food too. We'll eat some good food.
Oh man, I love it. You're very generous to offer your time to a dude you don't even know. Thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. You're a good guy. We conductors, we gotta stick together. Us conductors, and
that's true.
It's interesting. Even though social media has its limitations, you do get a chance to meet people and kind of get to know them. And we've been following each other's work for a little time now. So it's all good.
That's why I reached out to you, because I feel like we have a lot in common. And
absolutely.
Not just in the way we think and the things we believe in, but musically, you're a band conductor.
Yes, sir.
And I'm a crossover guy. So and you work for the DSO. So I was mistaken. I thought you conducted both, but it turns out you work for DSO. Doing the Harmony program, and then you also conduct two bands. Am I getting it right?
Yep, two bands, two community bands. The Farmington Community Band, which this would be our 55th season. Right, the group started 55 years ago, and there have only been two conductors, the founder, Paul Barber, and then myself. I've been the conductor for 17 years.
Wow.
It's a great group. It's got 90 players. I have music teachers, retired music teachers, doctors, lawyers, secretaries. I've got people that have been in the band for all 55, 56 seasons.
Yeah.
And they're tremendous players.
Now I know that you've worked with players at every level. You've worked with little kids. You've worked with outstanding college students. You've worked with professionals. You've worked with community members. I think community ensembles are one of the funnest groups to work with.
Oh man, they are. They really can be, because people just want to come and play for fun. And they desire to play the best literature and to play it well. And we do a great job, considering that we meet 2 hours a week.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Right? Yeah, well, and then my other ensemble is the Detroit Community Concert Band. The DSO, Detroit Symphony, started an adult band 3 years ago, and asked me if I would build it and start it. So I'm doing that also.
Now, a lot of professional orchestras like DSO, they have a big youth orchestra program or some kind of education program. I've never heard of a professional orchestra that had an adult community ensemble, and especially not a community band. So are there other orchestras that do that, or is DSO special in that way?
I think the DSO is special. We have this amazing community and learning department of the DSO, and it contains all of our youth ensembles. We've got the youth wind ensemble, the youth concert, the youth symphony band, the youth concert band. I conduct that group too, the concert band, the youngest kids.
Yeah.
And then we have we have 3 jazz ensembles that are part of the youth ensembles, and then we have this community band and a community orchestra.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, so it's huge. We community outreach at the DSO is really important.
Yeah, well, it sounds like it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it is to every orchestra, but even so, every orchestra, it's one thing to say community outreach is really important, and there's one thing to put your, to do what you say. And it sounds like DSO is maxing it out. I mean, there's not much more you could do.
I know, you should see, we work hard. The folks at Community and Learning, we work hard to make it all work. And to do that for the community. And the orchestra, the DSO has this new thing called the Detroit Strategy, where they really want to be an even better part of the community. And so they're really digging into Detroit. And we're really having some good conversations and coming up with some great ideas to do some things in every neighborhood.
I'm just I'm so surprised and sad that I've never visited Detroit before, because of course the DSO is legendary. And as an orchestra conductor, I should have made a trip there by now, but it sounds like Detroit has really rich musical culture, and I mean, I knew about Motown and the history, the Steel Days, and how the DSO got started and everything. But man, I got to get up there.
Yeah, for sure. Because we have those things going on. Like I said, techno, house music, gospel music industry here is, we have the Clark sisters, which are the legendary gospel artists. They're right here in Detroit. And then you have Detroit Chamber Winds and Strings here, and Chamber Music Society of Detroit. I'm on the board of both of those groups, and they also do amazing work too. So it's a lot going on in Detroit and in Michigan, but Detroit is the heartbeat.
Now, you said you were born and raised there, and you only left Michigan twice to go to school, and you went where again?
I only left twice to go to, I did undergrad at Michigan State.
Okay.
In music education.
Okay.
So I studied music education, and I studied horn with Doug Campbell. And then some years later, I did a master's in conducting at Michigan with H. Robert Reynolds.
He's pretty good.
He's pretty good. Yeah, he's pretty good. He's pretty good. Yeah. You know what? I mean, he's. Here's the thing I tell people, because he and we're really close friends, is that he is as good a person as he is a conductor. He is one of the nicest and most caring people that I've met. But he has a very high standard musically.
Yeah.
Like, don't get it wrong. Even he's gonna watch this. He's gonna watch this someday and say, "You did pretty good. You represented pretty good." That's So all the conducting that I do, Silas, like down at the DSO, all the honor bands that I do. He knows every one that I does. He wants to know every piece of literature I've done.
So is he still really involved in your career? I mean, obviously, when you find a mentor like that, he's your mentor for life. But he's also busy. He's got new students and people that came after you. But even so, he's still really involved with you.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, he said to me when I got to Michigan, we're married for life. And I thought, yeah, whatever, But he's every step of my life. He's been there. One time. Eastman School of Music was looking for someone to run their community music school. So they reached out to me to apply. Of course, I was floored. I was like, well, me? What? And I got a phone call from him around 1:00 that day. He says, I heard that Eastman reached out to you. And I said, they did. How do you know that? He said, well, don't worry. He said, but do you mind if I do some investigating to see if it's the right job for you?
Wow.
So, right, he does that. And a couple of weeks ago, he FaceTimed me and said, I'm just checking on you. I know that COVID has hit your community pretty hard. Are you all right? Do you need anything? And I'm thinking, this man is 87 years old. And he's still checking on me to make sure I'm okay. So, yeah, he's an important part of even Crescendo Detroit. He's a part of that. The work I do there. He wanted to know about harmony. So, yeah, and then he wants to make sure I'm keeping the level of conducting extremely high.
I can imagine what he has to say about conducting community ensembles and kids. And it's not, conduct less well for them, right?
Oh, he's the opposite.
Yeah.
He says, he tells me, you're required to do the best literature with every age that you work with. And so I use that as my guide. As I deal with my kids, my DSO group is 6th grade through 9th grade. And in my group, to be honest, I have the kids who come from underserved communities, right? And so for some of them, it's the first time they played like really good music in 7th grade.
I'll bet.
So I have to dig through and I have to find pieces. I have to find arrangements of Granger's music, or I reach out to Julie Giroux and see what she has, or Kevin Day to see what he has, or Omar, what do you got? You got anything? Or Kate Nashimura, I'm like, what do you have out there? Let me grab some of your music. So we're always looking for the best music. So he really instilled that in me. I mean, it's been almost 25 years ago that I studied with him.
Yeah, I especially love Julie Giroux's music.
Yeah,
it's beautiful, and people love it. Like I don't have a band anymore, at least not a civilian band. I have an Army band on the side, but my civilian band in Colorado a couple years ago, we did 2 pieces by Julie, and they just were nuts about it.
Yep.
And that way she stretches out.
It's good. Right, it's good. Her music does talk to you in a different way than other composers, and then she's hilarious.
Yes. Yeah, we can see that on Facebook.
I know on Facebook. I said, Julie, what are you saying today? So we had a chance to hang out for about 10 minutes in Midwest last year, and I said, you are a trip. She was hilarious. So that's the impression that Reynolds has left on me, and then it's good stuff.
I'm glad you mentioned the fact that you choose only the best repertoire, or that Reynolds says, use the best repertoire, because there's this conversation, a little bit of a debate in the conducting world between band conductors and orchestra conductors, who has the best repertoire, because the general consensus is orchestra music has got this really rich history and it's so much better. Well, band music has a bigger body of new music and more composers writing today. And so there, in my opinion, there's no better or worse. There's just 2 different worlds of music. But there's a lot of bad band music out there, along with the really great music. And sometimes I think educators, especially at the lower grade levels, are choosing music that isn't the best music because it's doable by their students. But students that age that you're talking about, middle school age, they can play great music too.
Yeah.
They're not going to be playing, Lincolnshire Posey, but there's great music that they can play.
That's right. And especially nowadays, there is questionable music out there, but there's there's more good music nowadays written for those lower levels, those lower grade levels, than there was 10 years ago.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
know, and through Facebook, we have access to these composers. You know, we have access to Tyler S. Grant and Julie and Mr. Owens and Kevin and Omar. And so when they put out a new piece, they just put it out on social media and say, hey, I got a new piece. And so we could grab that music and do that. And I think too, for me, and you know, like I said, I studied with Reynolds, and I also studied with Ronnie Wooten, who's the director of bands at Northern Illinois University. He was my first teacher that got me to Reynolds, and he was into, you know, researching and digging and finding the best music, and he taught me how to do that at 20 years old. When I was a music student at Michigan State, he was a grad student studying with Eugene Corporon. He taught me to dig, so I dig for good music. I mean, and I think that, so I consider myself a banner carrier for bands and wind ensemble music. So it's important that what I program on the stage at Orchestra Hall represents the very best of wind band literature, because I don't know if very much Persichetti gets played at Orchestra Hall.
Mm-hmm. No.
So with my adult band, I did the divertimento. You know, let's do it. Let's get it out there. And so I do feel like as a band wind conductor, I have that responsibility.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yes,
yeah.
you do. And
right, because we know that sometimes, you know how it is, sometimes orchestras going, oh, what is the band? Did you hear that band piece? Oh, yeah, you know. So, you know.
Well, you know what? I was exclusively an orchestra guy for the first 10 years of my career. And then I got offered a job with the Army Band back in 2010. 2011 wow. was when I started. And I thought it was weird because I got invited to the audition, and I took the audition because I thought that it was my only opportunity to conduct the Army Band in the audition, and I'd have a funny story for the rest of my life. Like one time I conducted the Army Band, ha 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 ha.
Right,
right. Then I conducted them in the audition, and I didn't even know why they invited me, because I'm a classical guitarist, never been in band, never been in a marching band.
Wow.
You know, just a different background. And I'm clearly an orchestra guy. And at that time I was working as an opera producer in Manhattan.
Wow.
And they invited me to the audition. So I thought, oh, well, I'll take this audition. It'll be funny. And then they offered me the job. And then for the next 7 years, I conducted almost exclusively band.
Wow.
And you know, those military bands, the levels, like,
yeah, they're unbelievable,
crazy high level. And there is an orchestra too. There's an Army orchestra, which I worked with for about 2 years in Washington, D.C. But they're great. The greatest wind and brass players in the United States over there in those DC bands. But we didn't get to explore the repertoire that you're talking about, because our job was to do this. We did pops concerts, we did ceremonies.
Right.
And so when the president of France comes to visit America, we're there to play the national anthem for them, the French national anthem. And it's the best it's ever sounded. But, you know,
right.
not Persichetti. It's just it's a national anthem, which is what it is. And we did a lot of ceremonial stuff. And so I learned a lot about the quality of a sound of a band.
Oh,
and then I took that with me in my civilian work, and I got a job at the community band, and trying to make a community band sound like one of those professional DC bands. That's a challenge.
Yeah.
But then I could program whatever great music I could find. And I also found some stinkers too, that, you know, as I was learning I didn't learn the repertoire when you did in school. I had to learn it like on the job.
Right.
And so as a music director of a community band, I was choosing music. Most of it was really great. Every now and then I'd choose something that looked pretty good, and then the band would read it and I'd go like, oh my God, what did I get myself into?
Oh, I still do that sometimes. And the band, yeah. And you know, my groups, we have such a good relationship. They'll look at me at the end of the piece and they'll go, no, sir, Crutcher. I said, okay. I thought so. I said, I thought this sucked, but I want to make sure you all felt the same way. So we just take it.
It was a test for them, right?
It was a test for them. You're right. I'm testing you all. Yeah, but we all, you know, we come across those stinkers, or we come across music that looks easier than it is.
Yeah.
You know, when you dig it, oh man, I need more time on this. So
that happens from time to time. So all conductor, in my opinion, in my philosophy, all conductors are educators. even if you don't have an educational post, if you're not like a teacher at a school or an education program at DSO, for example, conductors are still educators, even if we're working with pros, and you're educating the audience, you're educating the community. But you are really an educator, like with a degree in education and an educator's heart. So I'm anxious to hear about the Harmony program, the DSO's Detroit Harmony program. And then I know that you also started and you run something called Crescendo. Am I saying it right? Detroit Crescendo?
Yeah, Crescendo Detroit. Yeah, Crescendo Detroit. I'm fortunate, Silas, that that I have two wonderful degrees. The music ed degree from Michigan State is one of the best. And of course, the conducting degree from Michigan is one of the best. And I use them together everywhere I go. So I'm fortunate. And then, I went to Castanico High School in Detroit, which is a magnet school. Harry B just started the band program at Cass Tech back in the day. And so people like Lily Tomlin, Diana Ross, John DeLorean, Donald Senta, they're all Cass Tech grads.
Wow.
So I got 2 degrees and a diploma, and I use all of those experiences. And so I've been a public school teacher. I've done that. I did that for some years and was, by all accounts, pretty good at it. A lot of my former students are professional musicians now.
Feels nice.
Like if you ever get a chance to look up Chris Johnson, look up Chris Johnson. He plays with the Count Basie Orchestra, and he was director of jazz studies at University of Utah. He was one of my students.
Wow.
But look him up. He's done some unbelievable arranging on Facebook. Yeah. But so I'm blessed that I could do both things, and I feel comfortable in both arenas. And so about 7 years ago, me and my brother and another friend started a nonprofit called Crescendo Detroit because there were no music programs in Detroit at the time, maybe 3 or 4.
You mean like in public schools?
In public school, like there were only maybe 3 or 4 public schools that had music programs.
Wow.
Yeah, it was abysmal. It was unacceptable. And so we started Crescendo so that kids could have an opportunity to play an instrument. And so we service about 50 kids now, ages 5 to 17. And they take from us, band, orchestra, choir, dance, financial literacy. We do life skills. We eat at every session. I have 2 cooks, and we feed the kids at every session. We feed their parents when they come in. We have this wonderful partnership with U of M where they take lessons with music students there. And so that's been going 7 years strong.
That sounds like a big program. I didn't realize you did all that other stuff.
Yeah, it's a wraparound program. We wanted
I knew about the music, but your financial literacy and you're feeding people, and that's huge.
It's huge. And I have an exceptional staff. My site director is Angel Rock. She's one of my former students. So she kind of runs it with me, and my brother helps operate it. And we have music teachers that some volunteer, some get paid, and we just have had a tremendous time building that program.
Wow.
And so between that and conducting and guest conducting, I guess I didn't have enough to do.
Yeah. Oh, man.
And so I knew that the Detroit Symphony was starting this initiative called Detroit Harmony. I knew it a couple of years ago. I know they did a national search once, didn't really come up with what they wanted. And so during COVID, I did some self-evaluation, and I thought, man, for the kids' sake, I should throw my name in the ring to interview for the gig. And so I did, I think 12 interviews over the course of June, right?
Just for that program?
Just for Detroit Harmony, right? They interviewed maybe 3 of us, I guess, 3 of us. So I interviewed with trustees and I interviewed with musicians, and but it was good because I wanted to see if the orchestra was serious about their commitment.
Of course, yeah.
And so in August 1st, I started as the managing director of Detroit Harmony. And at its base, we want to guarantee that every kid in Detroit that wants to play an instrument will get an instrument from the DSO. No matter where you're playing that instrument. You could be with Crescendo Detroit, You could be with 7 Mile Music. You could be with Detroit Public Schools. You could be with a church group, a private group, or you could be a homeschool kid. We're saying that we are going to provide you with an instrument free of charge.
That's amazing.
Right? And you know, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. And we're also saying at the same time that we want to do some economic development. So we want to hire Detroiters to help in the process, hire Detroiters to learn how to do instrument upkeep and repair, and all those things too. Returning citizens, veterans, we want to keep them in the mix. So I've got this, I have an 18-month planning process to put the infrastructure together to build this amazing program that the country's never seen before. So no pressure.
You can handle it for sure.
But you know, I have to tell you that because we're doing things virtually, I've been able to get some amazing people to be on my leadership team and a part of my instrument drive group and workforce development group and music education group, people from all across the country saying, oh yeah, we'll help you. We got you. You know,
that's interesting that because of the pandemic, we're all working online, so you can have people from all across anywhere in the world really helping you out in Detroit, and also that they hired a guy who lives right there in Detroit after doing a national search.
I know, isn't that? It's a trip, isn't it? Right. It is.
Well, you know, you've probably been. We won't talk about embarrassing moments in our lives, but we've all been parts of searches that didn't work out, right?
Yeah.
And I've always thought like that when you go through a search that's really well organized and they're looking at lots of people and then you don't get the job, it's because they chose the right person for them and it's just a bad match, not, you know, because they didn't like me or whatever. But sometimes the person you're looking for is in your backyard and the best person is right in your community. And it sounds like the DSO just figured that out with you.
I know, it was interesting. So when I called them and said I was interested, they thought, really? And someone said, why didn't they ask you? I said, I don't know why they didn't ask me in the first place. I don't know. But they said, okay. And so, yeah, it turned out to be a great match because, you know, I've been doing music education and conducting for 30, you know, I'm 52 years old. I've been doing this since I was 22. So I know the system kind of, and I know people, and through Michigan and Michigan State, I've met tremendous folks. And of course, both schools are on board. They're both like, count us as a partner. What do you need? We've got you. We'll be a part of the leadership board. Interlocking Fine Arts Camp is on board.
Great.
You know, so we're just putting the pieces together because once we say we're having a national instrument drive, we have to be ready for what that means.
Right. That's
we're going to get instruments from all over the world.
Yeah.
So we have to have the infrastructure in place to collect and to house them and then to catalog them and to get some fixed. And then how do you get them to every kid? And in addition to that, I want every kid in Detroit to have access to private lessons.
Yeah.
You know,
because ultimately with a free instrument, you know, what are you going to do with it if you don't know how to use it?
Right. And so how do we?
That's on your agenda right now. Are you guys already working on that, or is that just a thing for the future?
This is all part of us building. We're going to build that into the plan for Detroit Harmony. So hopefully by next year, by July, I want to have a plan in place so in the fall maybe we could kick some stuff off.
Right. Well, you have your work cut out for you, my friend.
I do.
You have a lot to do.
I got a lot to do.
And I've got a lot to do. Even with all that on your plate, you still found time to have coffee with me. I did.
And I really appreciated the you know, your invitation and what you do and what you stand for. Yeah, thanks for like sharing this time with me and you know.
All right.
I'll be calling you. I'll be calling you because I say, hey, I need you to be on my advisory board. I'll be calling you. We'll talk.
Well, like you, it sounds like you have so many things going on, but conductors are pretty good at multitasking. And like you, I have a bunch of things going on. But if you ever need my help, you count me in. All right.
I appreciate that, my friend. I really do.
Well, thanks for being with me. And for now, I'll say goodbye. But as soon as this pandemic's over, I'm coming to Detroit.
I got you too. We're going to set you up.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks.